Everyone, and welcome to the August 16th, 2023 meeting of the Auburn School Committee. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, start with introductions down here to my right, please.
Brian Belknap, Ward 4.
Clarissa Perez Armendariz, Ward 1.
Pamela Hart, Ward 2.
Karen Matthew, Ward 3.
Connie Brown, Superintendent.
Pat Gaudier at large.
Jason Levesque, Mayor.
Mark Conrad, Business Manager.
Sue Doris, Assistant Superintendent.
All right, thank you, everyone. Dan Poisson as well as Pam Albert have excused absences for this evening. Let's start with an approval of tonight's consent agenda, which includes the minutes from August 2nd, 2023, as well as the certificated nomination of Allison Hutchins. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Brian. Questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion. All those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. Public participation. I'll open it up to anyone from the public who would like to come and address the school committee this evening. All right, seeing none, I'll close public participation. Our first presentation this evening is professional development calendar.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to ask Dr. Doris to briefly review the PD activities plan for the upcoming year.
Okay, we are putting the finishing touches on our district professional development calendar right now. And the calendar is an online document that maps out a year-long professional development plan for staff. And the calendar is put together with input from our instructional coaches, our teachers, our staff, and administrators. The activities that you would find in the calendar are, of course, our professional development offerings. The calendar also includes all of our assessment windows, our early release Wednesday agendas, our workshop day agendas, our parent-teacher conference dates, our school and system data reviews. Time for teacher collaboration is built into the calendar, and then we have our Auburn Induction Academy dates and agendas in there as well. And in this year's calendar, we really have 4 focus areas. One is to strengthen the implementation of our core curriculum in literacy and math, and to continue to strengthen the implementation of those literacy and math programs, the My View and My Perspectives, and the illustrative math. A second focus area is to support best practices in meeting the needs of a diverse population of students. So for an example, one of the professional development sessions will be strategies to support our multilingual learners. Another focus area is to stay up to date on current research and practice. And an example of that is training on artificial intelligence, or AI, which the administrators had a training on today, thanks to Mr. Peter Robinson. And a final focus area is to support teacher collaboration. So we do have time built into the calendar for teachers to meet and to collaborate, to look at data and talk about students. The calendar will be shared with staff during the opening workshop days, and then we update this throughout the year. And that's my update on the professional development calendar.
All right, any questions for Dr. Doris?
No, I'd like to commend you on getting all of those in there, like just all the information, especially the half-day Wednesdays, because I think we all get a lot of questions as what do people do on half-day Wednesdays?
Early release Wednesday.
Yeah, the early release Wednesdays,
Wednesday.
and are they required? And so I appreciate that that's all written down, and you guys are all organized. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you, Dr. Doris. Next is a summer programming update.
Sue?
And I am pleased to provide you with an update on this year's summer programs. First of all, we ran 11 different programs this summer, and I did give you a little memo with an attachment to the descriptions of the different programs. Our programs serve students at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. Also, our students with special needs, our multilingual learners, and our students experiencing homelessness. We had some programs running for all of those groups. This year, we served just over 400 students, and a primary goal of our summer school is to prevent learning loss. So you may have heard of the summer slide. We're trying to prevent that from happening, so that's a primary goal. And our programs are also designed to support academic achievement with a focus on literacy and math, but also hitting science, social studies, and other areas as well. At the high school level, the programs are designed for students to either earn or recover credit towards graduation. So tonight I have a few of the program supervisors here. They're going to share some highlights with you from their respective programs. So we're going to start off with Stephanie Hathaway, and she was supervising the elementary tutoring program.
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
So just a little bit about our summer program. So my job this summer was to oversee everything, and I did site visits every week. So I visited each of the schools and Boys and Girls Club, check in with tutors, see how things were going, if they had any questions about students, like maybe they were seeing something, they didn't quite know where to go with it. I helped them out with that. And I think one of the things that I really found was just the huge high level of engagement of both the tutors and the students. The fun that they were having doing the learning activities, particularly loved, I sat in with the Sherwood Heights pre-K teacher and her aide, and they were doing a similar to KJS kind of program, and that was just wonderful to see the kids having read-alouds where they were really interacting with the story and talking to the teacher about, you know, some of the things they saw in the pictures. So really showing them how it, you know, what it looks like to read a book and really think about what was going on at the same time. Park Avenue ran an incredible program as well, as far as just having, you know, the kids in the same routine as they would be in school, getting off the bus, going to breakfast. So I think it's, you know, very important that that routine is carried over during the summer. Those kids are going to be ready to go right away. And the other thing I really noticed was just how good it is when you have tutors at a community program, whether it be CLC at the same site or the Boys and Girls Club. Just that allows that if you have a student who's not there for the day for some reason, you can go in and take another Auburn student, do some reading or literacy activities or math games with those students. So no time's wasted, and the benefit to those children is just great as well. So I think overall it was a hugely positive experience for everybody involved. And I know the teachers that are doing it really appreciate the flexibility and just the amount of effort they put in. The lessons I saw, you know, those aren't ones that they're just, you know, printing off and reading off. They were engaged, playing games, really focused on those kids one-on-one. So fantastic program, well worth the effort and the money.
Thank you.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll hear from Ben Wilson, and this year we had the Falcon Summer Camp at the middle school.
Hi, yes.
Hi, Ben.
How's it going?
Good.
So we've had 2 sessions of summer camp at the middle level. The first session, we read a nonfiction read, Hidden Figures, and our students used that as a premise for studying the history of the time. Then they created rockets and launched a series of rockets, whether balloon rockets, water rockets, compressed air rockets, measured their time and distance, and did some algebra based upon that. The second session started last week. It ends this Thursday. We're reading the book, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. And from there, we're doing wind-powered cars. We're doing wind generators and using technology at the middle level to get kids excited about being at school. It's been a resounding success. Every student has come every day. We've had students from session 1 choose to come to session 2, even if they weren't signed up, because they really were excited about the hands-on learning. It's been a great experience for us.
Thank you. And Laura Shaw is.
Can I just
going-
ask a question?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
yes.
Did you have a lot of kids that were trying to do recovery, as far as credit recovery and trying to catch up? Because I know in the past, the middle school, there's been issues with, you know.
So the kids we asked to come to summer camp are the kids that needed to do recovery, but we know that the students, if they weren't successful with the way we're doing it before, we don't want to repeat that. So we invented and created a different style to the educational system over the summer, which really did entice the kids, and they came every day. Yeah, it was fantastic. But the premise behind this was to do some sort of credit recovery, but in a more hands-on way. So, yep.
And next we have Laura Shaw, who is going to talk to us about our special education programs.
Hi, everyone. So similar activities and instruction, just a little bit of a difference in what special ed offers for ESY or extended summer, extended school year services. It's a little bit different than all of the other programs in that individual students' IEP teams determine, number one, if a student is eligible to have extended school year services, and if so, what that looks like. So not all special ed students have what we call ESY. And sort of the measure to determine if a student is eligible for summer programming is whether their rate of recoupment is very, very far below their peers. So we know that most kids during the summer have what Sue described as summer slide, so everyone regresses a little bit. But we have students, typically are students with intellectual disabilities or some of our more higher needs kiddos. Their rate of recoupment is far below their peers. So there is a handful of the population, and we had some summer programming at Walton, which serves our students with autism, at Fairview, which serves our functional life skills students and some students with autism, the middle school and the high school, which again serves those students with intellectual disabilities. We do have a handful of other students who do qualify for extended school year services as well. So it's not a replication of what they get during the school year. It's just sort of maintenance and working on those academic and functional or social skills that they have been working on all year. But again, good stuff, fun stuff, a lot of outside activities, themed activities, all tied to their social and academic work.
Great. Thank you, Laura. Any questions for Laura? All right, thank you.
That concludes our summer program update.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Doris. And transportation update.
So come on up, Mr. Fontaine. This is Dave Fontaine, our Director of Transportation. And I asked him to come and give a brief summary of how we're doing in terms of route establishment, driver recruitment and retention, and anything else. So Dave, welcome.
Thank you. So tonight, I just want to let you know that the driving staff is short. However, we still have double runs to accommodate the difference.
Okay.
Everyone is expected to be on a bus this year, and everyone will have a ride. We do have 5 positions open, and I have one driver already in training and another one getting close. So we're still working on it. We had a new mechanic that started July 5th, and he's doing real well catching up, and that's going well. Our inspections went well this year. We still have some more to do, but the state police came back in July 11th, and that went real well. We're working on getting our own bus inspection license again at the garage.
Mm-hmm.
And we have our new assistant coordinator that started on the 14th. And the TransFinder program is still working. We're working on the technology piece between Peter and TransFinder, and I'm working on getting things geared up in the office. So it's been a busy summer, but we're moving forward and things are looking well.
Great, thank you, Mr. Fontaine. I heard you say every student has a ride.
Yes.
Every student has a ride.
And I got a
Okay.
station wagon.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, no joke. Sometimes.
Dave, you also drive, right?
I do.
You're short?
Yeah. And so I've got a plan in place so that starting the school year, we're going to have 2 people for spare drivers.
Okay, fantastic.
That's going to start with day 1.
Okay, fantastic. Pam?
Your transponder system, will that be up and running when school starts, or are we still working out the bugs?
No, it's going to take a few months to get going. And I don't want to announce my big plans yet, but I mentioned it to Connie, and she said no. But no. So, yeah. And I've worked with that program for many years, and so I'm very confident that it's going to be a success.
Okay, fantastic. All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right, seeing none, I think we are done
Thanks, Dave.
presentations. Thank you very much.
All righty.
All right, Dr. Brown, Superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to jump around just a little bit. And Mark, could you talk about the certificate of occupancy status?
Sure. We reached a couple milestones with the high school project this week. Our team started practicing on the new athletic field. It was great to see them out there. The bleachers are actually complete. They just need a final inspection before we can get on them. And on yesterday, we reached the most critical milestone to begin school in September, and that was receiving a certificate of occupancy that says we can generally occupy the building, including students, staff, the public. That reflects the fact the
Good one.
life safety systems are up and running, and the school is far enough along that it's safe to occupy. There were some exceptions for some very specific areas, such as that we've talked about, such as the auditorium or some of the CTE areas that aren't actually being, we're not running programs in them for another year. But by and large, we're all set to welcome students back to school. And our staff have already started coming in and getting their classrooms set up. I would note that we're also moving our attention on the contractor and his team in the demolition of the current high school. You'll see the gymnasium completely ensconced with scaffolding as they get ready to start taking it down, but they're actually working first on the interior of the building, and they've started doing a lot of abatement in there where you can't see it. So we're very optimistic to have a positive opening to the school year.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. And so on that note, August 27th, mark your calendars, 2 to 5, we have the grand opening of the new building. And we have a number of guest speakers. The Commissioner of Education confirmed today, and the governor is a go, we hope. We're hoping for that, and our mayor and the chairperson and a number of other dignitaries are going to speak. We have a ribbon cutting and food, and after the presentation, which starts at 2, and the speakers, then we're just going to throw the doors open and let people go through the school. So that will be, again, on the 27th. That's a Sunday. And that was done purposefully. I was asked, why a Sunday? And it is because I have to worry about the safety and security of the kids and the staff. And I want to make sure that the community has an opportunity to go through the school and visit everything in the building and not worry that school is trying to have a session that day. So that's why it's a Sunday. And I think it's going to work out well. And we hope everybody will come. And so mark your calendars, 27th from 2 to 5. And I think that concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Fabulous. Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Brown?
No, but I just wanted to make a comment that I've seen the invitation shared a lot on Facebook, so I think that the community is very excited about this, and I think there's going to be a very big show of community members, which I think is wonderful.
Thank you. And I need to give a shout out to Liz, who is the communication director here for the city. She's been awesome, both in designing the invitation and getting it out on social media and helping design the program. So it's yet another great example of the collaboration between the school department and the city. So thanks, Liz. Hope you're listening.
I'll make sure she rewinds it.
Okay.
This is actually for Pam on the same note for the open house and ribbon cutting. I would guess, based on your comment and what I've seen as well, we're going to have 500 to 1,000 more people at every little. Could we possibly have the fundraising committee, and Pat, you're on the fundraising committee too, I believe, right? I don't want to leave you out, but could we have a table set up, some examples of some of the plaques for the auditorium seats and the ability to actually have an order form? Because I have a feeling there'll be a lot of people that want to order at least some of the lower dollar amounts, the bricks and the plaques, right then. It'd be great.
Great idea.
Great time to get them excited and raise that money.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments for Dr. Brown? All right.
All set. Thank you
seeing
very much.
none, let's go down to committee reports. Any questions or comments? The only committee that's met so far is the Finance Committee. Any questions or comments on the notes or agendas? All right, moving on. We're going to move on to new business. Where am I at? Here we go. Can I entertain a motion to nominate Paul Bossy to the Ethics Panel?
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions or comments? There's a memo included. Yes, Pat?
I just want to say I know Paul, and I think he will be excellent, really excellent. It's a really good decision.
Thank you.
Selection.
Thank you. I've spoken to Paul. He is excited for this opportunity. He's looking to give back to the community he grew up in. My memo is public, but Paul is a retired lieutenant colonel. He has served on panels like this in the Army, so it seemed a really good fit for me to ask him to join. So he's got a first and a second. Any other questions or comments about Paul? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes. All right, next is a motion to approve the elementary, middle, and high school student handbooks. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Clarissa. All right, questions, comments on that one?
I have a
Sure, Pat.
There were things on the elementary school that were not in the high school and middle school and vice versa. And I wondered if it was deliberate or if they should rethink it. If these are already printed up, then it would obviously be for next year. I was wondering about the school cancellation policy, which was not in the elementary or the AMS. The bus expectations and consequences in and I only looked at the Fairview handbook for elementary, but it said they couldn't have cell phones, but then it says they can carry cell phones at a parent's request. So that seemed contradictory to me a little bit. There was no mention of the child abuse reporting in the AMS student handbook or custody agreements, and I don't know if that needed to be in there. And the items in the high school, they had a list of prohibited items like guns and all those kinds of things. They were not listed at AMS, and I don't know if that's something that should be in there or not. I'm not saying which way I feel, I'm just noting the difference. Also, there was more information in the elementary handbooks than AMS and EL about immunizations, which I think would affect kids who are moving into the system. And what was the other things I had? There was no mention anywhere of the Narcan policy. I don't know if you want that in there or not. In the EL handbook on page 18, talking about lockdowns, and there was no mention of the safety upgrades in the new school, and I wondered if that should go in. And then I'm glad Mr. Latouche and Mr. Sampson are here today. What is the mascot? Is it Edward Little or is it the ghost? I don't know what you settled on. The ghost's all around, but in the handbook it says Edward Little.
Madam Chair? This
Yes.
it was just put in the great points from Pat, phenomenal. This is a 2 reading, correct?
This should be a 2 reading, or 1?
This is a first reading.
This is a new business,
first of
and
2.
then it would go to old business. Or is that only for policies? It's a one and done? Okay.
This is a one and done?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion. This is, okay, before I say that, I think there's some valid things in here. We could go through this entire list and make motions to amend, but I think in my background, or it would make things very muddy, and we wouldn't have a clean version. Is it possible to delay this vote till the next meeting, but that's after school starts? How would that be a problem? If we tabled this to September?
Have they been printed? Here's the
So
question.
they're not printed anymore, right, Dr. Doris? They're on the website, so we don't have a printer. That would have had to have been done back in July. So we can make changes. It just means we would not be able to start school with a handbook for people to look at.
They don't have the old handbook and then additions can be made? I mean, there already is a handbook in place.
Online.
So,
It's just,
and the first meeting is September 6th, so school hasn't been in session for, a couple of days at that point, so we can do that, yes. That's the board's wish, to have this as a 2-step process. We can certainly take feedback and then have that included as part of the next iteration of the handbooks.
I
Madam
think
Chair?
Pat has a very good list of discrepancies that I noted.
That would
And
be wonderful. Thank
Pam, if you could chime in as well.
I also had kind of an issue with, I read everybody's welcome, all the elementary, and my only concern was with Edward Little's welcome. I felt that it wasn't very inclusive. I felt that it wasn't very community inclusive. I think that this year, having a new school and the excitement of all of that, we definitely need to include that. I did wordsmith something just because I felt, especially and another thing too, one of the sentences when it says, one of these is that, like, responsibilities is that you respect your fellow students, teachers, and staff members, which I wholly agree, and in that return, you will be respected. I feel that it should be mutual respect, not just on one side. So that was one of the issues I had with that, but I just feel like it kind of puts people on the defense more than welcomes. So I did speak to, oh my God.
Dr. Brown?
Dr. Brown, Dr. Connie, Dr. Brown, and I know that there is going to be a welcome letter, which I appreciate, but I just feel that it doesn't really go in the same, it's very different from the middle school welcome. I think parents need to still be included. I know that as a parent, when my child went to middle school, I felt parents were excluded. I don't feel like that now, and I appreciated the middle school welcome, and it included the partnership with parents and the community, and I really think that the Edward Little welcome should also be that, especially also because they still need their parents, but also the new school is very community-oriented, very community-based. We have the theater, there's going to be other things that we're going to be doing in there, and I think that that should be brought on.
Okay, so I'm hearing from the committee right now, we're noticing doing a close read, consistency, and making sure we're including all policies and that they are consistent. The policy for weapons should be is the policy, no matter what building you are in, and I think we're lacking some of that. So I think, Mr. Mayor.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to table this to the September 6th meeting, which is actually after the August 22nd Policy Committee meeting, which hopefully will give some time for these things to be
I
addressed.
second that motion, I agree. All those in favor to table to motion to 9-6. Okay, motion passes, thank you. We'll table till then. All right, next is can I entertain a motion to recommend the administration find up to $4,200 in Article 4 to fund a first football team. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Pat. I'll second that one. Any questions or comments?
I have a question. When we were asked to cut this program, we were told that there aren't any students. But now we're being told that there's a lot of students. And I guess my confusion is, why was this not known before we were asked to cut the program, when we were told that there was no program and it was ridiculous to have it?
So I'm going to ask, are there any other
Brian?
schools? Before I will open it up to the public, or ask Todd to respond to that as well. Are there any other questions that can be answered?
I think Jason has some clarifying information.
Well, because we asked the very same, or either we can go back and forth. Brian and I, during the Finance Committee meeting, we had parent representatives speak to us, and we asked the very same question. A lot of it just happened to be, their signups happen kind of throughout the summer. We made a decision before. It's a fairly new surge in players. Athletic Director Sampson was there as well. Since we moved this program from recreation into the school department purview with Auburn Middle School, that is. So, those numbers have increased dramatically since May. Be natural, if you would. We had nothing really to go off of other than historical records, so that's why. So it kind of looked like it was an unperfect storm, if you would, with regards to when kids sign up, when they get their physicals, when they enroll in, online and so forth.
Okay.
I guess my point was, why did we get rid of it in the first place if we had this many students?
So here's my question for Todd, which is going to answer that. So two things. One, the reason why this is on the agenda was, like you said, like Jason said, it came up in the finance meeting. We wanted to have this discussion, and one of the things that both the mayor and I had issues with, or potential issues with, is that we didn't play any freshman football games all last year. So one of the questions that I'm hoping Todd can answer for us tonight is that, are we going to have a freshman season? Do we have teams that we're going to play? I think that's the key message, or the key ingredient before we can make a decision. Because the reason why we got rid of it was not because the students weren't there. It was because we weren't playing freshman games. We were having varsity swing down to JV swing down to freshman. Kids were getting hurt. It was a liability issue. That's why we said no to this program, because it wasn't the kids that weren't involved. Because we got clarification that obviously freshmen, juniors, seniors can play JV, varsity, wherever they fit talent-wise. It was the fact that there aren't any schools, and I saw the social media as well. I think other parents have chimed in, like Thornton Academy doesn't have freshmen, Great New Gloucester doesn't have a freshman team. A lot of these schools don't have a freshman team anymore. So I'm hoping Todd can shed some light based on our discussion last week.
And here he comes. Any other question, as Todd's presenting, if you have questions, I mean, here's the man to answer them, hopefully. Hi, Todd.
Hi. I'll back up, Mr. Hart. I think we all knew, as Mayor Levesque mentioned, when the school department took over the middle school football to AMS, I think we all anticipated a little bit of a surge, because what we heard for years was there were just some families that couldn't afford the entry fee, the registration fee at the rec department. We thought that number was small, but it appears that number was very large. We had a huge surge, and I just left the beautiful turf field, by the way, that Mark mentioned everyone's practicing on. There were 24 freshmen out there. We haven't had 24 freshmen in 8 or 9 years. I did some numbers earlier. The last 3 or 4 years, we were always 11, 14 freshmen, and you really need 20, 22 to play those games. Mr. Belknap, to your question, we had a Zoom meeting this morning, and there are a few of the larger schools struggling with freshman or first-team football numbers, but it looks like there's going to be between 8 or 9 schools that will have teams, so there will be some competition. And I think I shared during the budget presentation the first-team concept, which is a little different. That allows some of our sophomores that may be, a little bit smaller in size to play those games, or they may just be new to the sport and they're trying to develop some skills. So you can, and that's kind of a coach's conversation beforehand to say, I have 3 or 4 sophomores, I'm going to play at this position. And just once again, one of the things that coaches do is they match kids up so that the kids are safe.
It's the old adage that says, we build it and they will come. Worked out for us.
I am so happy with the turf field, but I'm almost equally happy. I told Dr. Brown earlier this week, we typically run around 225 for fall athletics. We're approaching 280 kids right now.
Yay.
So there's a lot of excitement in Auburn right now.
Good, absolutely. Any other questions or comments? Yeah?
Just wanted to speak for the board. Well, I can't speak for the board for myself, but I know there were parents here, and I've spoken to some of them, and there was no way or no piece of our heart that said we didn't want kids to play in freshman year. It really was down to the logistics and the reality of it. And one of the things that you said, Todd, was I hope I'll be coming back to you next year for a freshman first team. So you people made it happen ahead of time, and I think that's great.
But it's good. That's the key, because we have great parents. They were the ones that took the lead on it. Let's get the fundraising going. We can't wait. Let's get this thing moving and going, and hopefully we can give those kids that opportunity.
All right, absolutely.
I just have a clarifying question overall about this kind of request, because I know that when we did the athletics budget, there were other programs that were eliminated, and some of those parents actually contacted us to make requests, and we said no, so there was a budget-related rationale, and so I was just wondering if part of the message is that those people can build a team and come and request. I mean, I was just concerned about that part of the budget process and the calendar for budget, and sort of when is it kind of takes away some equitable opportunities for requesting money when we respond to budget requests. I don't want to use, it's such a negative word, ad hoc, but, or as they come along. So I felt that it's responsible to say that.
I think we have to respond to the folks who are in front of us right now. That's, sort of the way I'm looking at it right now. So with that in mind, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor? And it passes. You are free to fund your first year, $4,200 for you folks. All right, next.
Thank you.
You are welcome, absolutely. Next is a motion to approve the GoFundMe standard operating procedure.
So
Do I have a motion? Thank you, Brian. I have a second. Thank you, Pam. Dr. Brown, I'm going to ask, we have a motion on the table, so I can ask this question. What is the GoFundMe standard operating procedure? It was not linked to our agenda.
So it was in the finance packet.
Okay.
And discussed at the finance committee.
Mm-hmm.
So Mark, I thought those documents made the packet, but it appears that one did
Yeah,
not.
I think it was an oversight. I mean, if you want to hold off on approving
It
it
did, I
till
was
that
just,
can get.
so if you look at the agenda, I did, but when I look at a motion like this, typically it's linked right to the agenda itself, so you can click right on it. So if people want to see what it is, you have to go into the finance.
We can certainly delay this to another meeting if you want, if you want to see that.
No, I did the research, I read where it was, but if I were just looking at the agenda and I'm a citizen, you typically could click right on that and see what
Apologize
it
for the
is.
oversight on that.
Yeah, if we could just link that in there, that would be great. I've read it. Any questions on the procedures? Brian?
No questions. I saw this in the finance meeting, and
Okay.
I agree. I mean, I sent out an email so at least everybody could see
Yeah.
the link. But yeah, you can get through the finance agenda.
Yeah.
I think this is great. Whether it's GoFundMe, whether it's other technical means, I think this is just a good stepping stone. You see it in concessions with Venmo. You see it all over the place with ways. Whether it's to raise money or retrieve money, receive money. So I think this is a great start. I think this is also good. One of the things that came up in the finance meeting was, should we be more generic? And we kind of came to a consensus that no, let's create it specifically for GoFundMe. And as we venture into the others, we'll have, operating procedures for those as well. But
Yeah.
no, I think this is great.
Sounds good. Any other question, Pat?
In reading this, it says that you need to notify the business manager what group it is to benefit. That brings up a question of, are these outside of classroom requests? Teachers do this.
Theoretically, a teacher could do it. Typically, it's been sponsorship groups. It could be the PTO, it's Project Graduation. Actually, it's the football parent group that's using it to raise funds now for the first team. So that's been the focus of it.
I just wondered if it was appropriate for teachers to do it.
If it's appropriate to be raising funds for what they want to do, what we're saying is GoFundMe would be an approach they could use, as opposed to in the past when they were limited to collecting checks or something like that. So yes, it could.
On that note, this policy is specific towards parent groups, correct? And outside or third-party groups versus because I do have a fundamental problem with teachers raising money for classroom expenses. That's where the budget process is. So I want to make sure that teachers are not included in this. That should be a separate policy, I believe.
I read this as it's more for extracurricular activities.
It is intended for
I
that
did as well.
purpose. All I'm saying is if there were a specific reason for a classroom to be raising funds, if they were taking a long-distance trip, and this doesn't get to whether the fundraising is appropriate or not. It's saying once we know it's appropriate, then here's a way you can do it. So
That's right, the
but it
superintendent,
is
you still
intended for
could not.
outside. It is intended for sponsorship groups.
Okay, so the superintendent could still actually stop that if she deems it's not appropriate.
That's correct.
Okay.
Can we link it to the actual policy? So I had written we link it to a clear statement of what is appropriate, or the conditions, a clearer statement of the conditions under which the principal would approve this or not?
As written, I think that it's the business manager that has the approval. Is that correct, Mark?
And we're saying the principal
Says the
or,
principal
or,
approves.
or it could be the athletic director. And then I would work with the group for that. Again, it's not intended to, we could look at that, but it wasn't intended to change what we've always been doing in the past with sponsorship groups of raising those funds. It's just giving them another option from collecting checks or, and we want the principal to be aware of the groups associated with their schools that are raising funds and for what purposes. So that's why we've tied the principal and, or it could be the athletic director into that process. And it's a simple process. It can be an email back and forth to make sure everybody's aware of what's happening.
Pat?
Can I make a suggestion that the policy committee pull up the policy We'll take a look at it. The title of this does not indicate process for whomever or whatever, so I realize this is the process and not the policy, but I'd like to see the policy first.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to table this to September 6th, giving the policy committee a chance to review this.
I will second. Oh, go ahead, Clarissa. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of tabling? Motion passes. So we're going to table the GoFundMe as well. Thank you. All right, everyone, we have some upcoming meetings coming up with some subcommittee policy curriculum. We do not meet again until September 6th. There are 5 Wednesdays this year. So with that being said, 5 Wednesdays in August. That being said, do I have any requests for future agenda items? Seeing none. I wish you all, we will not see you until after the beginning of the new school year. So wishing you all a wonderful start to your school year. Students, parents, staff, all of you. All right, motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Brian. All those in favor? And we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your evening.